Well, everyone here speaks English, so I'm feeling a little shy about that. But I'm actually a writer for TV, for comedy shows on TV. And, well, this is a difficult question, but I would like to talk about laughter and humor. You know, whenever I'm interviewed for something, I get this question. Oh, no, no, this is not the right slide. Well, doesn't matter. So, I just kind of told my punchline, but nevertheless, anyways, so people ask me, why is laughter necessary? Is it really necessary? Well, I always say, well, I don't know if it's necessary, but there is one thing that I can say. So from now on, let's say, if you laugh, even just once, you have to take off all your clothes. So there is a new rule, let's suppose. And, if you just laugh once, you have to take off all your clothes and be naked. And if such a rule was imposed, you will laugh. You wouldn't be able to last for more than half a day. So I'm not quite sure if that's necessary, but your body needs laughter. And I've been working as a writer for a long time, so I kind of think that I have to talk about the mechanism of laughter. So, okay, this is where my slide should have come on. So there are two elements. Here you go. To laughter. Please, pretend like you've seen the slide for the first time. So empathy and unexpectedness. I think you've already seen it on here, but empathy is about those jokes about familiar situations or impressions of celebrities. But don't you find impressions kind of strange? And you just look at the impressions and it kind of makes you laugh. But that's very important. So let's say this famous singer in Japan, Keisuke Kuwata, somebody does an impression of him. And that person is only a little bit similar to him, because that's just like, it's not funny, because that's just like a middle-aged man singing karaoke. But okay, let's make that person more and more similar to Keisuke Kuwata, and he becomes exactly like Keisuke Kuwata. But then that's not funny either, because it's just like looking at Keisuke Kuwata. It's too close. So laughter, you need to make it imperfect enough to keep the funniness, and that's what empathy is about. And the next factor is unexpectedness. This is when you say something unexpected, contrary to the usual flow of speech. It's kind of like those holes that you dig so that people will fall into it, and that's something unexpected. So I'll give you a piece of example for unexpectedness, coming from my friend, a Japanese comedian called Hoshan. When he was going to high school, he belonged to a tennis club. And one day, that tennis club wasn't really a strong team. And there were twins in that tennis club. And during the summer break, they were practicing. And a new coach came to that tennis club. And that coach looked at the way people were practicing, and he got furious. And he said, you have to form a line. So every student was asked to form a line. And this coach, as a punishment, started to slap everyone's face. So he comes to the twins, slaps the first one, and then he slaps the next one. And maybe because he slapped two identical faces in a row, he got confused. So after the twins, he started to give 2 slaps to each student. And, does that happen? But, well, it's a tragedy. And tragedy for the students who were lining after the team, because they got 2 slaps. Because one minute they were only expecting 1 slap, but the next minute they got 2 slaps. So that's unexpectedness. It's a complete opposite of what you were expecting. And that Hoshan story is a tragedy. It's very violent tragedy, but because he brought in a different viewpoint, that story became funny. So it's the magic that you can bring with words. It's a horrifying experience, but he instantly changed it to a funny joke, to a funny story. And something that I realized also is comedy is actually present in the most negative aspect of human lives. So let me tell you an example. So for example, I'm here, and a good-looking guy comes by to me and says, he comes and sit down, and he says, "Oh, I gotta get a haircut." Well, that's just normal. Well, nothing funny. Nothing funny. However, if somebody who is bald, let's name him baldy guy, comes along to me and he sits down and says, "Oh, I gotta get a haircut," then isn't it a little funny? Well, I know I'm being a little impolite, but isn't that a little funny? That's because humor is present in the negative aspect of your life. There is funniness there in the negative sides. And within that negative side of yourself, there is always some sort of hang-ups, an inferiority complex. And if you face your hang-ups, sometimes you can create a laughter out of it. So let me give you another example. I know a director called Eto. He is also bald. I don't have anything against the bald guys, but, I just happen to have a lot of bald friends. So I love Etos, by the way. And I was in a meeting with him together one day. And during the meeting, one girl came up to us and said that her bangs were cut too short. And Eto-san, who is bald, he said, "What's the matter? For 15 years, I've never seen my bangs. And you should be happy because at least you have bangs you can touch." Isn't he funny? I was quite surprised. So if you face your inferiority complex, you can change it into humor. And if you expose your inferiority complex, it becomes the best armor that you can have. Yes, of course, inferiority complex isn't something that you would like to have. However, if you can turn it into something funny, then it becomes a sensational experience for you. And I work closely with comedians who work to make people laugh, and they are very sensitive and vulnerable. But they can change, and they do change their inferiority and into laughter and fight as armor. And of course, they don't want to show their inferiority. However, someone said that humor is the most peaceful and instant way to win the hearts of people, because you laugh. No matter how hard you try not to, you just crack up laughing. And so it just happens in that instant, and you win the hearts of those people. And at that instant, the negative side of yourself will become something funny and will give you happiness. So that's why comedians work as comedians for a long time. And, myself too, Eto-san, that bald guy is too. We have a lot of things that we do not, we feel inferior about. But if you can change your perspective, you can change it into humor. And if you can change it to a humor, it will become the best armor. Is that too difficult? Did I say something that's too difficult? I think I might have. But, there is one point that is important. Courage. You have to have courage. If you have courage, you can face your hang-up and you can find the funny in it. And that funny will eventually become laughter. That's the present that God has given you. There are going to be a lot of things in your life. You may make failure. Jinnai-san, he went through divorce. He had a hard time. But, that's just plot to bring on laughter. Everything that happens in your life is just a plot to trigger laughter. And if you can bring around laughter with those plots, then it's worth doing it, I think. So, let's face your complex and let's change your life into a wonderful life. Thank you.